Alright, so in this video I'm going to be covering my Kinetic arsenal that I plan to equip via DIM. Basically I make a loadout in DIM, I identify it as weapons, Kinetic for all, so I enable the any class option as well as move others away, and then I have 9 Kinetic weapons, or Kinetic slot weapons I should say. And this is basically going to be the 9 weapons that can get me through any activity, and the reason why I only have 9 and not 10 is because I like to leave one slot open. Ideally more, like maybe 3 would be better, but I think this covers a wide variety of options depending on gameplay, raids, dungeons, solo campaigns, doesn't matter what I'm doing, leveling, like I have every option in here. And having one free slot gives me the option depending on the class that I'm on, because when I create these loadouts on DIM, it's enabled for any class, right? So I can just go to DIM and equip my Kinetic loadout, and it's going to transfer over to whatever class that I'm on, right? And the reason I leave one slot open there is because obviously certain classes have different specialties, right? So Titan might want a 1-2 punch shotgun, right? So then I can just carry that over without losing any of these, right? So if I had this maxed out at 10 universal Kinetic weapons that would be good on all classes, and then I'm like, oh, I need a 1-2 punch shotgun, let me transfer that over from DIM. Well, it's going to automatically remove one of these other weapons, and I'm not really in control of what DIM's going to remove, and that could be sometimes annoying. So I just like to keep one slot open. So like I said, you know, I can put that 1-2 punch shotgun on there, maybe a Weapon of Sorrow for a Necrotics build on my Warlock. Same thing for Hunter, maybe a 1-2 punch shotgun, or a Lucky Pants hand cannon, right? Warden's Law. So, you know, Swordbreaker, Warden's Law, Osteo or Necrochasm. Those would be your class-specific options to slot in here. So yeah, so these are the 9 weapons that I'm going to be taking into the final shape with me. So first up is Deliverance. This weapon is getting a buff through Chill Clip, right? So a while back, I think with the release of Season of the Wish, Bungie nerfed Chill Clip so that, well, because Riptide was just, you know, reigning supreme. Two shots with the top part of the mag is instantly freezes a target. That was too much for us, I guess. It was too much for Bungie. They said, hey, you can't do that anymore. Now it takes 3 shots. The problem is 3 shots isn't a huge deal on Riptide because it's a rapid fire frame, but on precision frames and other frames, obviously you have a much slower fire rate. So it's extremely punishing on weapons like Deliverance. However, Bungie has changed this so that Chill Clip is now going to go back to where it was before. It's only going to take 2 shots to set a freeze, right? So each shot is basically going to do 50 slow stacks, I guess. For all fusion rifles except for Riptide, right? So rapid fire frames can still, you know, they're still stuck at 3 shots. So I'm thinking that Deliverance is going to be a pretty good option to bring into the final shape for champion stuns, for utility in general. And I just so happen to have this like 4 out of 4 god roll that I got from Vow the Disciple quite a while back. I do have a crafted non-adept version, but Bungie has told us that come the final shape, we're going to be able to enhance our perks finally on our Vow the Disciple adept weapons, right? So that means that I have the exact same roll. This is actually my roll right here on my crafted version. It's Compulsive Reloader and Chill Clip. That way I can stay at the top part of my mag with very snappy reloads. But like Demolitionist is also an extremely good option here. You get I think you get more grenade energy on fusion rifles compared to grenade launchers, so it might be like 20%. Also, like bait and switch, not bad, but you know, typically I'm probably just going to be using these. But this is going to enable me to instantly stun overload champions and freeze unstops, and so I can get the shatter and get the stun on unstops, right? So this is a double champion counter, and just generally it's good for burst damage, right? So I'm definitely going to be taking this with all my loadouts because it's just going to be very useful. Wish Ender doesn't really need much of an explanation, does it? This is just good in any type of content. I mean, yeah, there's basically no PvE content in this game that couldn't somehow benefit from Wish Ender having intrinsic anti-barrier. So like I said with Deliverance, It essentially has the ability to stun overloads and unstops, while Wish Ender takes care of barriers, right? Mountaintop, because, well, and this is the role that's my favorite. I've discussed it in previous videos, Demolitionist and Frenzy. Demo with Indomitability, just really nice for getting grenade energy. Frenzy for maximum reload speed and DPS with also a 15% damage buff, and max handling. So just very nice for sustained damage. Just better in general for boss damage as opposed to something like Recombination, which is just something that you want to, unstow occasionally for that recombination shot. But, recombination doesn't give you any sustained damage, whereas Frenzy and Vorpal do. And of course, I've got Hard Launch and Spike, so that's pretty good there. So yeah, this has been a very good weapon for me, and I've definitely it essentially replaces scatter signals, right? So if you're wondering where scatter signal is, well, Mountaintop basically can do the same thing that scatter signal does. And yeah, so it's a lot of fun. Lingering Dread is my blinding option as well as Overload, right? So I do have some pretty good kinetic blinding GLs as well, but Lingering Dread has been my longtime favorite, and especially with the God roll with disorienting, auto-loading, and chill clip. Like I said, you hit an overload, they're stunned. If I just need to use it in general for blinding, right? Technically, you could even stun unstops. It's a little bit slow to reload, but like actually, this is a good question, because I think currently chill clip, Lingering Dread suffered from the nerf due to Riptide, I believe. So it would take 3 shots to freeze and unstop currently, which is too long because of the reload speed, right? But come the final shape, if this is a 2-shot freeze, then this could be something that I could use in the same way as Deliverance. But just having the option to crowd control, very good, especially when you're going into content blind, like we all will be with the final shape. You don't know what you're dealing with. Well, you might just need to blind ads every now and then so that you can figure stuff out and stay alive. Supremacy, extremely good, just general sniper with kinetic tremors. I've used this for all kinds of different reasons. I mean, you can use it for boss damage, very good for boss damage. Also just good for ad clear for chunky targets, right? You hit any target twice and it sets off the kinetic tremors, so that's really good. And it's also good to have some kind of ranged DPS option, ranged precision option, right? So as opposed to something like Mountaintop, these are both very different weapons, both very effective at doing similar things, but for, slightly different targets, essentially. Hung Jury is for, we know that scout rifles are going to stun unstoppables, and this is just, in general, this has been a good utility role for me. I highly recommend that you bring shoot to loot on any of your loadouts. You have at least one shoot to loot weapon in there somewhere. Especially useful for raids and even dungeons or grandmasters, like literally anything in the game where you don't want to put yourself at risk to go pick up orbs of power for armor charge or pick up ammo. One little neat interaction with shoot to loot and kinetic tremors is if you're actually full on special and heavy, and you're, say, bursting down a champion from long range, and there's a brick near the champ. Well, shoot to loot is going to continuously proc off of the kinetic tremors and pick up those ammo bricks, even though you can't pick them up. It's going to try to pick them up, and that's going to instantly reload Hung Jury. So you can fire this infinitely at certain champions if they happen to be near an ammo brick where you're already topped up on ammo. But yeah, so this will take care of unstops and just good for utility in general. Outbreak Perfected, which I finally went in and got last night, and I still have to get my catalysts, but here I am making a video instead of doing all of my last minute prep stuff. I still have 10,000 legendary shards to spend, so yeah, like the video, I'd appreciate it. But Outbreak Perfected is going to be obviously quite meta next season with the pulse rifle buff. I think just like in general, they're going to be 38% better than they are currently. And we have anti-barrier pulse rifles, which is one of my favorite anti-barrier weapon types. I've always loved Outbreak Perfected whenever we have anti-barrier pulse, and now that it's going to be even better, this is going to be awesome, right? So highly suggest you go and get it, or even just use the old one. It's still going to be very good. Wither Horde, kind of like Wish Ender, doesn't really need much explanation here. Very good for doing damage over time with bait and switch. Good for ad clear. Good for anything. Fire and forget. I mean, we all know Wither Horde is just incredible. So yeah, bring one with you. Then lastly, I've got the Showrunner here, which we have anti-barrier SMG, so this could be useful, like if I want to use an exotic in my elemental slot or in my heavy slot, then that leaves me to suffer with like a kinetic primary. However, SMGs, like I said, having anti-barrier stun capability, in general, anti-barrier weapons to me are the most useful outside of champions, out of all of the champion stuns. That and overload. Because barrier, like this gives you the option to pierce enemy shields, and there are a ton of shielded enemies in the game. So being able to just shoot right through their shields, very good for ad clear, very good just for anything in general, right? Not just stunning barriers. And even though I really despise the look of this gun, actually it's not too bad. It's not too bad with this shader on here, but like I don't, not a fan of these Vanguards, these old Vanguard weapons. But regardless, it's got kinetic tremors. It's a 900 RPM, so I mean it's very good for that. All right, so next I will go over to discuss solar. So I'll see you there.